Welcome back to the Control Academy, everyone. I'm your host, Marshall, and today we're taking another look at Slug Control. So, if you're new to the channel, thank you for coming here. If you like the video today, give it a thumbs up. If you are returning, consider subscribing if you aren't already. We play awesome control decks like this every week, and we continue refining them, and this is one of my favorites. So, if you're a fan of the channel, you are probably familiar with this deck, at least in philosophy. I have played Slug Control since Crimson Vow Standard. I did a quick revision of it back after the bans previously, and then I hadn't yet revisited it since Kamigawa was released. It turns out there's actually some really great tech from Kamigawa that makes this deck pretty strong. So, I'm going to go ahead and link up in the corner, I believe it's that corner, to the last video I did on this general deck type, so that you can get, the full deck tech there if you're interested in. But I'll give you the abbreviated version of sort of the core of what we're doing here, and then just focus on the things that have changed with Kamigawa. The engine that we're looking at here is using Jacob Hauken primarily to cheat out the higher end cards. It's not our sole way of going about the game. This isn't strictly a combo deck, but Jacob Hauken as a Merfolk looter on the front side, and then a sort of as foretold sort of effect on the back, is really strong. It poses deck building limitations, which is that we want as many of the things in our deck to be playable off of Hauken's insight as possible, so we avoid having dead or lost draws, which is why you won't see traditional counter spells in this deck. And at the top of the end of the deck, we're hoping to cheat in primarily Toxrill the Corrosive. This is really, really strong in this format because there are so many creatures and tokens and just little things that Toxrill just eats. And if you can get them out ahead of curve, or even just unexpectedly, at a point of the game where you then leave up more mana than your opponent expects, it can be really, really powerful. And so the core of that deck is still here. Again, Jacob Hauken with those sort of modifications in place. What Kamigawa brought us first and foremost is a permanent that is a recurring draw engine and also potentially a threat later game. So Reckoner Bankbuster we've played in other decks, and it happens to work really nicely here because it plays nice with Jacob Hauken. It happens to fit our need altogether. This is a relatively aggressive control deck, so even if you're able to crew it, it tends to be pretty strong. We're able to play Discover the Impossible as our draw spell here. We were playing Thirst for Discovery before, and while there are certainly builds of this deck that can take advantage of discarding cards as part of our draw plan, Discover the Impossible is a little bit less punishing to us and lets us look at the top 5, exile one face down, and if it happens to be an instant with mana value 2 or less, you get to cast it for free right then and there. And you'll see that we have a couple cards that meet that criteria. Specifically, Infernal Grasp and Fading Hope can be cast for free off Discover the Impossible. But realistically, this is just always going to be our version of Memory Deluge. It's never going to be quite Memory Deluge, but Memory Deluge doesn't work with Jacob Hauken at all. I tried moving away from having the random white splash because Path of Peril is always one of those things that's been kind of irksome about this deck, because it's not really an Esper deck. And I thought about building this as a Esper deck, and I avoided that for 2 reasons. The first is that I really love how straightforward the mana in this deck is. Allows us to play Field of Ruin really easily and whatnot. And also, if I'm being honest, I just played a ton of Esper decks on the channel recently, so I didn't want to quite dip back into that because it kind of gets away from what's unique about this deck, which is that it is so targeted and so aggressive. I tried going to Meat Hook Massacre here and just found that with that as our primary mass removal spell, the enchantment decks were still just slipping out from underneath me. And so again, I've said this in the previous videos, I said on this one as well. Path of Peril is one of my favorite cards to have as a Wrath in this format. I am a big fan of it, but there's a lot of things you can do in this place here. And honestly, I think when we hit the next set, I am going to build an Esper version of this deck, but I want to see what New Capenna brings us for the Esper colors, or I guess the Obscura colors we'll be calling it by that point. But for now, Path of Peril is here, and we do have enough incidental white mana in the deck that we can cleave it toward the end of the game. But early game, there's just so many things in the format that we need to be able to wipe up on turn 3, and a lot of those things end up being tokens, so it's pretty good. The next thing from Kamigawa is Kaido Shizuki. We've played this on the channel before, and honestly, there probably should be more than 2 copies of this in the deck, but this is what I've tested it at. Again, it's a permanent, so it works really well with Jacob Hauken. It's a draw engine, it creates some creatures, and the -7 is actually pretty relevant here because it becomes another backup engine, that if we can defend Kaido up to 7 loyalty, then we can use one of our sort of incidental creatures to sneak out one of our big win con creatures as well, because every creature in the deck is either blue or black, except for Reckoner Bankbuster, but that's not a creature. I've changed the top end threats a little bit here because of Kamigawa, and we've played Junji and Kairi before. I love them both in this deck because Junji is a little bit lower on the curve. It lets us attack and block a little bit more easily. It has Menace, which helps us trigger Kaido remarkably well. And then if we happen to have one of our big end threats in our graveyard, the put target non-dragon card from a graveyard into the battlefield under control is a very, very powerful effect. We can also snag things out of our opponent's graveyard with that. But honestly, if our opponent kills Junji, and even if we don't have anything good to slurp out of the graveyard, being able to make them discard 2 cards and lose 2 life is pretty punishing in this format. And so Junji is a really, really great add to this deck. I'm very happy to see it here. And honestly, every time I play Junji in a deck, I'm never disappointed with it. Going up to 1 Kairi at the 6-drop spot, this sort of smooths our ascent into our 7 drops. Again, played it on the channel before, always impressed. 1 copy here, just because the top end of this deck is pretty crowded, but that's something that's hard to remove, and it also gets us back tons of other cards from the graveyard. That is really great for us. And again, it's another way for us to control our opponent's board if they happen to find a way to remove it. And then Jin-Gitaxias here, we have enough cards that it can copy, that it ends up being worthwhile. And then what I found is that when it does come out, it's not always necessarily the most impactful, but it ends up causing our opponent to have to play really carefully. And so especially if we have another threat on the board like a Junji or a Toxrill would be amazing, it just really makes our opponent play inefficiently enough that it happens to be like a defend the queen for the entire board. And so I've liked that enough. This spot used to be Hullbreaker Horror, and again, I think you're probably perfectly justified in playing Hullbreaker there, but this is probably the first deck where I felt like I wasn't just forcing Jin-Gitaxias to say Jin-Gitaxias within the deck. Being able to sneak him out and really either copy our own stuff, and again, it copies even the things that Jacob Hauken casts off of his backside. It can get us more card draw, more removal. It can also get extra Reckoner Bankbusters, which is a random upside. There are benefits on that side of things, but as a way to just make our opponent's answers less mana efficient, inherently card disadvantageous, it's really powerful. And of course, Toxrill. You gotta zoom in on this beautiful, beautiful boy. Love him. But I won't. I guess I don't know who has a scarier mouth, Toxrill or Jin-Gitaxias. But maybe that's the new theme of the deck is scary, scary mouths. Over here again, we've got incidental white mana. Utility lands, so Otawara is in here, and then Takenuma is actually pretty good here because we can use this to get back either Kaido or one of our top end threats to hand at instant speed, uncounterable. It doesn't get affected by Thalia and whatnot. Otherwise, the mana base is pretty straightforward. We've got a couple of the duels on a couple of the flip lands. That's our white outside of that 1 basic. So with that, again, if you like it, give it a thumbs up. If you love it, consider subscribing to the channel, and I'll see you in the games. All right, we're up against Rec Zone. Good luck, Rec Zone. We're on the play. Won't complain about that. Hand is not incredible, but it's at least got it's got enough lands to be satisfied with. I wouldn't mind one fewer land, but it's got ways to protect ourselves and draw cards, so I'm going to go ahead and give it a go. Now, normally I would play a Shipwreck Marsh on turn 1 and go for that, but I think by turn 3 our curve is going to be pretty fine. The upside of this is that if our opponent's playing aggressively, we can Fading Hope and semi-time walk them. That is not really what I wanted to see, if I'm being completely honest. Let's go ahead and send them back. Kaido's decent, I'll take it. Play a Swamp. They're going to replay this Wind Robber, and so I'm going to hold off on the Bank Buster for now and just try to kill the Wind Robber. This season's sending me back to okay. Well, that's indeed a thing. This season's sending me back to Silver. It's been exposing me to all sorts of decks that I have not seen in a very long time. They're tapped out, so I'm going to take this opportunity to Kaido, make a Ninja.
It's like your defenses aren't even there.
Silver for Master is, depending on what they're trying to do, could be pretty bad news. So I don't really want to see any of the things I have on the board stay on the board, if I'm being honest. There we go. Alright, so go to combat, attack, draw a card.
I know something you don't.
Then here I can haul and get on curve, or I can play Bank Buster draw. I think the answer is Bank Buster draw. Fortunately, Kaido is probably going to eat it. But yeah, can't win them all. I suppose if I had drawn the first turn instead of making a Ninja, he would have survived. So I'll go ahead and call that a punt. Yeah. Got enough silver for Masters, dude. I would not mind a Path of Peril. Not at all. Well, the fact they haven't ninjutsu'd yet is a little bit better than I expect. Fading Hope is a-okay in my book. Let's go ahead and drop the haul here. There's a chance that I can always Fading Hope the Hive of the Eye Tyrant if they go for it. There's an argument for Field of Ruin there. But I go ahead and leave this on defense in case something nuts happens. These silver for Masters make me think that something scary is coming. Okay. The other option is potentially to Takanuma. Get stuff back that way. Do I want to take 9 here? I don't think... Well, again, if I take 9, go to 6, I can get back Kaido. Just straight your... I don't think that that's a winning line. And then here... Couldn't Fading Hope this. Infernal Grasp. It's not quite a Path of Peril, but I'll take it. Okay. I've certainly drawn worse things than Discover. Okay. So... pass turn. Alright, step 1, discover the impossible. Alright, this is approximately what I wanted. I mean, second to a Path of Peril, I suppose. Counter it unless I pay 2. Yeah, my alternative is just Infernal Grasp again, so... Alright, they get 2 Spell Pierces. Alright, they put themselves at some pretty serious card disadvantage to do that. So, play Shipwreck Marsh. Yeah, okay. I figured with how they were playing that they must have had multiple options, but yeah. Playing a second Infernal Grasp versus just paying the 2 on Spell Pierce is functionally the same. Let's go ahead and discover. Okay, so here I'm going to take Path to mop up afterward. And then I'm going to pass to blockers to see if they do ninjutsu something. Looks like they will. Thousand-Faced Shadow. Alright. Perfect. Thousand-Faced Shadow targets, so killing the Silver Fur Master will, or even if they ninjutsu it like they're about to, it still won't resolve, so they just got themselves 2/2s. So, totally okay by me. Pass damage. I mean, it's not a great position to be in, but there's worse. Let's draw a card. Continue to discover the impossible. So, my turn. That's not bad. Let's go ahead and play this as a land. So I've got 8 mana. 9 mana. So what I'm going to do is crew 3. Quick combat. Attack. This was a mistake. I thought I was getting clever with Path of Peril, but I'm going to kill my Bankbuster here. So that was dumb. But I can't get too aggressive because of freaking Hive of the Eye Tyrant. So Path of Peril. And then here, the thing that kills me off the top of my head is Hive of the Eye Tyrant. So I'm going to leave up Discover Field of Ruin. Eventually Kyrie will be a good option, but gotta play around what I know they have. Alright. Tap a little bit further now, baby. Okay. Let's discover. Interesting. View battlefield. Toxrill is not a bad call here. It's kind of a YOLO, but... Alright, I never say to do this, but here's the deal. Because, like, I'm about to break my own rule. Because I basically never proactively Field of Ruin an untapped, unactivated creature land. However, this is one of those scenarios where if I can get Toxrill on the board, I can pretty much lock down everything that they need to do. They'll be able to draw a card with this perhaps, but if I do that, then I'm dead to their Hive of the Eye Tyrant, so I need to kill that now so that I can Toxrill on the backside. Yeah, they don't have enough mana to haul the Storm Giants, and even if they did, I could block that with a Slug, so... They are very close to turning on the Hall of the Storm Giants, but they're not there yet. Grab a Plains here. Hermit's pretty good, so let me just double check that this is the right call. So it takes 6 to activate, so if they draw a land, then I've got to chump with Toxrill, which isn't great. But this could be really good. Let's see if they figure out that they need to activate the murder. If they let me get to the end step and let the Toxrill kill the Wind Robber, then I'm in great shape. Okay, good. Alright, that was a misplay on their part. They should have sacrificed the Wind Robber in response to the Toxrill, or at least in response to the Slime trigger. Sure. What's that last card? Ah, yeah, there we go. Got there. Whew. That was tense toward the end. All my rules can be broken when they make sense, when they're well thought out, but I did break one today, so thank you for your kindness in how gently you call me a hypocrite there. Thank you. All right. Next up is Grimsbane. Good luck, Grimsbane. I don't see people using the Ugin avatar very often, but it's pretty sweet. All right. Our opening hand is a bit slow. It has most of the parts we'd want. If I could draw an untapped land for turn 2, that'd be Tickle Pink, but I think this is good enough to keep. There we go. I'm happy enough about that, but I'm going to start with this tapped. Cave of the Frost Dragon probably says mono white, but it could be a whole number of things. Not mono white. Alright. We'll see what this is. All the Storm Giants, and then here My guess is that I'm not going to want an Infernal Grasp just yet, so I'm going to go ahead and get the Bankbuster online. I think it's a toss-up about what to do there, but I have a feeling an Essay's Chariot is coming, and so that's probably going to be what dominates my thinking here. Never mind. Alright. Takanuma is not bad. We're flooding a little bit. Now, just going to go ahead and get rid of their Mana Dork, get rid of their little Hoobajube. Probably not the right call in the grand scheme of things, but if their answer on turn 3 with 4 mana was to ramp, then I have to imagine they're trying to get to something reasonably big. So Scoot Swarm is not what I was expecting, but also very good for them. Do now wish that I still had that Path of Peril. I can't win them all. This is fine. I think the answer is to leave up draw with Bankbuster and Infernal Grasp. Let's see, this needs 6 or more lands, so I get 1 more drop from them before I need to go far out of my way to kill this. But so let's go ahead and just pass. Dropping the second Bankbuster is fine, but I want to leave up removal and the ability to draw a card. So I'll take 2 here. It's not the end of the world. Okay. Draw a card. Path of Peril would be nice. That's nice. So yeah, I'll not kill the things at the end step then. Cool. Well, let's clean house again. That's good enough for thee. Didn't have to do anything. Just drop Wraths. GG. Alright. And our next opponent is Utah. Good luck, Utah. On the play, like that for a change. And holy mackerel. This hand does one thing. And that's it. Do I have the cojones to keep this? I don't think I can. Like, I can regret it if my 6-card hand is not great, but like this does. I mean, I don't know, maybe it's fine because it's gonna draw some cards anyway. I don't know about this. You know what, YOLO. If I draw an awful second hand, I'm gonna kick myself for it, so let's just give it a shot. Oh, I mulligan anyway. That's fine, because this is actually, I won't say like leagues better, but it is better. Keep 6. Fine. Let's drop Toxrill to the bottom. The fact that it has 2 Takanumas is actually awful. Jeez. Okay, well, you just watched a man break in real time, so we'll see how this goes. Okay, so this is Fynn the Fangbearer, almost certainly. It's the only time I've ever seen anyone seriously play Fangashikaki. Alright, let's go ahead and drop 1. Jacob Hauken. He is legendary, so he does discount Takanuma, so that's okay. Let's draw. Take that. No problem from my end. Kill off Fynn before he becomes an issue. Called it, though. Silver Tier is weird, man. I have not been getting in as many reps as I normally do since the season changed over, and man, it is weird. Yep, saw the Rabid Bite coming there. Pop off, man, pop off. Let's see. Takanuma. Oops. I don't think there's anything meaningful I can do with a Discover the Impossible here, so I'll just go ahead and pass. This hand's actually worked out reasonably well, all things considered, but let's go ahead and discover at instant speed. It's tempting to take the Fading Hope. I'm going to take the Path. If they unload with creatures here, then Path of Peril's ultimately going to set me up for the best long-term bit. Just, yeah, unload, dude. Going into Toxrill would be great. A little short on cards, but my opponent's not exactly doing too much more. I mean, to be fair, their hand would have been nuts if I hadn't just decimated it. Alright. At least now we're back in gold. Alright. Up next is Lalo. Good luck, Lalo. We're on the play. Love that. And we've got, actually, I don't have any complaints about this hand. We've got land, we've got removal, we've got a counterspell creature, we've got a card draw, we've got top-end threat. Yeah, this is straight up gas. I'll take it. Beg your pardon. There we go. Blue mana. Interesting. So, I've got double black there. I'm going to play this. My suspicion is that with our opponent starting on an island, this Path of Peril is going to be worth less than it would normally be. So, figure out how to evaluate that. But for now, let's just go ahead and let Herbie the card here. Get in for 2. Leave up some good stuff. Not yet clear what they're playing. But we're in gold tier now, so hopefully people are playing real decks. I mean, not that people don't play real decks in silver tier. I was just there, but you see some real spicy stuff in silver and gold. I've been doing so much brewing for the channel, and that involves considerable... Like, I go through a lot of real bad versions of a deck before I get to the ones that I put on the channel, so I have not been able to sort of like spike it up to Mythic quite so consistently as I would have hoped. So this last end of season hit me a bit harder than normal. Alright, that's fine. Next, attack. Tap this for mana, and drop Kaido. And I'll just draw a card.
Get in, get out. Easy. Now this is a
Good. Like, I would have liked to have kept that Discover the Impossible, but all things considered, it's not the worst thing to happen. The fact that it made them tap down lower makes me feel pretty good. Okay, they've got a stop set. Yeah, I would rather you not do that. Just being honest. Opponent appears to be playing pretty classic blue-white control. It took me a second to realize why they had to do that in my upkeep, because he was phased out. So, yeah, let's go ahead and draw then discard.
I know something you don't know.
Get rid of this. I suspect that's going to be our lowest value play. So the question here, so I'm keeping Path of Peril because since we have the white mana, if they drop a gigantic threat, then we can use that eventually. So it is tempting here to bring back Malevolent Hermit, because that makes their counter spells considerably less good. But I think what I really want to do is leave up Discover the Impossible. But yeah, I'm happy to trade a Malevolent Hermit to keep Kaido ticking up. If I can get to his emblem, then good luck, opponent. I don't have a ton of creatures, but the ones that I have tend to be kind of tough to block. This is not bad. So it gets us to 6 mana next turn. So question is, do I take the land and get to 6, or grab Jacob and try to start getting things going that way? I think given that we've got Kaido on board, I'm gonna grab Jacob and get a little greedy. I'm sure our opponent will punish us for it, but we'll see what happens. Draw a card. We got a second Kaido, which is not bad. Opponent's got 3 mana up, not double blue. I think the Bank Buster is pretty high. I think I'm gonna get rid of the path. Play Jacob. And then let's see. My suspicion is that they're building up toward Farewell. The fact that this didn't hang on Jacob makes me think that it's not a Saw It Coming, but I could be wrong about that. I'm trying to think of what else it could be. It could be a Doomskar, which would suggest that I probably should not drop the Hermit here. I'm going to drop the Bank Buster and hope for the best. If it's Farewell, they can still make my day miserable, but they were going to do that anyway, either regardless of what I picked. But Doomskar here means that they're only getting Jacob. So, Devastating Mastery. Okay, well, let's see. Play this and do that. Gotta love the backup Kaido. So, let's draw a card.
I'll be taking that now.
Probably going to regret this, but discarding this means that I can potentially play Kaido, or Jin-Gitaxias. And so I'm going to play Malevolent Hermit as a Benevolent Geist, because that's going to maybe set me up for some success. We'll see. I want them to tap super, super low here. Legion Angel, interesting. Shipwreck Marsh. Go ahead and draw a card.
I know something you don't know.
It's tempting, but I'm gonna discard Jacob here. That's gotta be a Doomskar. Like it just, I can't think of what else it could be. So let's drop Jin-Gitaxias, see what happens. Oh, okay. It did have a counter. Alright, fine. Fine, it happens. Did they not search up another Legion Angel? What? Amira's Call. Okay, has to be non-angels for that. Yeah, no blocks.
I've been watching your moves. Impressive.
Interesting. Let's go ahead and do this. Path of Peril is a good draw here. So I'll take this. I'll attack. That lets me draw for free with Kaido here. If I get Takanuma, I can get Jin-Gitaxias back. So, okay. Yep, there you go. And then, well, let me draw first just to make sure it doesn't change my opinion on things.
Now this
Does not.
is a juicy secret.
So, we have another Takanuma, which is why... So, the reason I did that is I'm going to blow up everything but that, I suppose. Play Jacob. I wonder if they just built this deck and they didn't realize that the sideboard didn't put the other Legion Angels in the right spot, because, like, the whole point of playing Legion Angel is to get more Legion Angels. They're going to be able to kill Kaido, but we'll see what they choose to do here. Yeah, I mean, like, that has to be Doomskar. Like, I guess it could be Starnheim Unleashed, but, like, they would have almost certainly used a Behold the Multiverse by now, and it would have hung on things for that. And if it were a counter spell, it would have been hanging on every spell, and they probably would have used it earlier. So, ouch.
I'm used to being uninvited.
Yeah, Jacob is actually not really great right here, so... Okay. Draw. Yeah. Fading Hope is A-okay. And let's go ahead and auto-pay. Yeah, like that. Then I get to play Clearwater Pathway on blue. This has been interesting at the very least. If they have another Devastating Mastery or a Farewell, I'll be a little sad, but, you know, it's been one of the more valuable Jacob Hauken so far, just because people have figured out to kill him on sight. He's a scary dude. Junji is excellent here, and I'll get to cast him for free. Her? I don't know the gender of that dragon, actually. Oh. Oh my. Let's see. And if Junji resolves and their answer to this is indeed Doomskar, then I can get back Toxrill with Junji's ability, and I'm already giddy with anticipation. I assume they've got to have another one, right? No. Okay. Neat, neat. Yeah, they're going to Wrath here. Yeah, there comes the Doomskar, finally. And Junji will let me get Toxrill back. Or Jin-Gitaxias. I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is. Actually, probably Jin-Gitaxias, because, like, if they're on an empty board, then... So if they're on an empty board, then Toxrill's actually not going to do anything, but Jin-Gitaxias will ruin their day. Double Doomskar. That's where Jin-Gitaxias becomes really, really great. Path of Peril, Jacob Hauken. Alright, you know, could have asked for better, but I'll take it if I got it. Jin-Gitaxias has proven his worth here. Alright, end turn. Fortunately, this Path of Peril It does not do too much under Hauken's, or it doesn't do the, I can't do the cleave mode from under Hauken's Peril, I don't think, so. Hauken's Insight, I don't know, I'm just saying words at this point. Come on, Lalo. There aren't a lot of things that can get you out here. What? I assume that this must mean that they have Grandmaster Flowers in the deck, because otherwise I cannot imagine why a deck that is doing what they're doing would play that. So, yeah, okay. Exile. Shipwreck Marsh, I guess. Yeah, I've got plenty of land. I'm gonna decline here. Go to combat. Attack. I don't know if my opponents expected that second Doomskar to work or not, but Jin-Gitaxias, I am feeling considerably better about that pick. I was feeling pretty good about it, but I'm feeling even better now. Come on, Lalo. I'm not going to taunt you, but you don't have any cards in hand. The only option you have is to absorb some damage. There you go. That's good. I'll let you kill my slug. That's fine. Imrith the Desert Doom. That's fine because I've got more mana than I could ever possibly hope to use. There we go. GG. Ooh, that was fun. All right, and welcome back for the closing, folks. We just saw some games with Slug Control 3, some pretty wild ones, if I'm being honest. And I love what's changed about this deck. You know, as we get a bigger card pool, it's easier to, you know, build stronger and stronger decks. But I was wondering how this deck would fare against the meta game. And it's good to see that it still works reasonably well. I do still think that now that I've played through it, that this probably should ultimately become an Esper deck, but I stand by that, the 2-color decks, at least in the current format, this is probably going to change once we get to New Capenna and we get the tricycle lands and all that fun stuff, that's probably going to change. But like right now, having a consistent mana base where I never struggled for colors. There were some hands that were a little bit dicey in terms of the number of cards drawn and lands drawn, but, at any given point, I was not worried about casting these. Even with cleaving Path to Peril, whenever I needed to cleave it, it was easy enough to do so. So, I'm pretty happy where we're at there. And so this deck still works in the meta. A lot of the cards are still, justifiable crafts, whether or not you want to, go in on 4 Jacob Haukens is a judgment call you'll have to make yourself. But I haven't regretted it in the least. The dragons are all solid. If you play blue, Kyrie is just generally pretty good. I have been putting it in more and more decks lately. Junji, again, it doesn't disappoint. And, we saw a game there where Jin-Gitaxias, just straight up won a game, in combination with Junji, where it was just like this 1-2 punch where basically Doomskar be damned. We're going to counter. They Doomskarred to kill Junji, which brought back Jin-Gitaxias, and then they Doomskarred again, and Jin-Gitaxias just like, nope. And, that's a really great feeling. And so it's a powerful top-end threat. It interacts in ways that just force people into weird positions, and I love it. I absolutely love it. So, Reckoner Bankbuster was pretty good here, but that's probably where I would start by changing things out. I think that this deck does need some more removal options, and it didn't really struggle to draw cards because between Jacob and Discover the Impossible, it actually saw quite a lot of cards. Now Kaido is like a legit engine, so I might cut I would cut the 4 Bank Busters and go up to either 3 or 4 Kaido, because Kaido's just legit, and then put in some number of things like Baleful Mastery or something like that. Baleful Mastery was in the previous version of this deck, but didn't make it into this one. Maybe some number of Meat Hook Massacre. I think that Meat Hook Massacre in conjunction with Path of Peril is a better fit for this deck than just using Meat Hook Massacre, because it's not as good under Jacob Hauken, but at least it still does things, which is relevant. Otherwise, I think the next iteration of this deck will be Esper, just because, the things that this deck struggles with, the white cards would really shore up because we get a little bit more general removal. We can get some better wraths. I think the Wandering Emperor would be excellent here, and, reduce a little bit of our reliance on creatures for a top end, which is, maybe a good thing. But then again, the flavor of this deck of being able to use Jacob Hauken just to sneak out these insane haymakers, and even if without him, he's just, if they waste all the removal on Jacob, eventually we just get to 7 mana and we just drop a Toxrill, and it's just nuts. So there's no world where I won't get excited for playing a 0 mana Toxrill, and in these games, we did even more nutso stuff than that. Anyway, if you like the deck, please give it a thumbs up. It really means a lot to me. I'm still a new creator here, and so every little bit of support you give me helps me reach more people, and that's really all I want to do here is share my passion for this game with as many people as I can. If you really, really like what we're doing, I build a new deck every week. This is one of the few decks that I've revisited multiple times because I just love it. But, for the most part, we're building new decks every week. And so hit the subscribe button if that's something you want to see more often. I really appreciate it. And, again, it makes all of this even more worthwhile. So anyway, without further ado, I'll see you next week. I hope you give Slug Control a try. It's really, really fun. And so I'll see you in the next video. Peace.
Searching for greatness in a sea of the dying and shameless, a sea of the aimless. I don't want to be one.